it's Naya. Welcome back to Naya vs. Files. Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm so excited. I have my May book haul. Okay, so I didn't realize how many books that I had for this book haul until I went and like counted everything, and I'm like, girl, you got 20 plus books. You know, you're gonna want to get some popcorn, some snacks. Anyways, without further ado, let us get into this video because yeah, it's gonna be a long one, but it's gonna be fun. Okay, let's go. Okay, so this first book here I received from HarperCollins Publishing. Thank you so much to them. This video today is sponsored by them in promotion for this new release of this book, which I am so excited about because it is being compared to books like The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas and A Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, and so it is just I'm so excited. Okay, let me show you the book. Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. Now, this book here follows our main character, her best friend, who is black, goes missing, and no one in her town seems to care, nor like find it mysterious or is concerned in any sort of way, and she's the only one who seems to be looking into her disappearance. So we follow our main character trying to find her best friend Monday, and as she learns more about her friend's disappearance, it just becomes more and more disturbing. It also touches on a lot of deeper topics and subjects, and so I'm so excited to read this one. So definitely, if you're a fan of The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, I have the book, but it's somewhere way up there and I'm too lazy to stand up and grab it. I cannot wait to read it. I plan on probably reading this next month in June, and I'll probably add it to like my summer TBR. Alright, so the next book I have here I also received from HarperCollins, and this book I plan on doing a really fun video, which you guys will be able to see next week. Can we just take a second? Look how beautiful this cover is. I don't know if you guys can see like the pastel sort of like sunset color painting we got going on here, but super cool. So this book follows our main character, who she is someone who believes in ghosts and actually has a ghost for a best friend who is her brother, and the way it sounds is like ghosts are very much real in this world, and you can see them and hear them, and so her brother is a ghost, which kind of makes me think, okay, something happened to him, obviously, for him to become a ghost, and that is something that she is still dealing with, and she's not ready to let go of him, thus why his ghost is still around. This main character meets this boy who starts to take up more and more of her time, and so she starts spending less time with her brother, who's a ghost, and so she kind of has to choose between spending time with her brother and risk possibly losing him, passing over, or spending time with this new boy who has secrets of his own. Alright, so the next two books I got here, which I'm so excited about, oh my god. Okay, wait, where are the original books on my shelf? Let me grab them, 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. The next two books here I received from Penguin Teen. I'm so excited. I actually have a reading vlog with these two books that are coming up. But those two books are An Ember in the Ashes and A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir, and I'm so excited because I actually already own the first two books, and I read the first book so long ago. Was it back in like 2015 that the book came out? I'm not sure. Whenever it first came out is when I read it. So these were the original covers, if you guys can see. I have both books here. I haven't read the second one yet, but I have a reading vlog. I'm in the process of a reading vlog for this one, which you guys will see next week. But these are the two covers, and they're so gorgeous. I absolutely love them. But Sabaa Tahir did a recover design, which I absolutely love. They remind me of like UK covers because they're kind of like white, and I don't know, I feel like a lot of UK covers are kind of like a white background with some sort of character or just like a little splash of like color on the front. This book follows our main character Laya, who her brother was just arrested for treason by the empire in which she lives in, and so she's offered a deal by the rebels to go as a spy into this like soldier training camp, and if she goes and does this, they'll go and rescue her brother. And so in the process of this very dangerous spy mission, she meets this guy, and it's just really great, and yeah, you should check it out. But anyway, so reading vlog coming for these books as well. All of these books I have some really fun stuff planned, but I just love the covers. They're so beautiful, and here are the original covers. Oh, both of them are awesome. I love all of them. The next book that I got here in the mail just yesterday, I actually received from Cami Garcia, and she wrote me a little note. She said, "Hi Naya" on here, and like, it's so cute. I love it so much. But this is her newest book. I am a huge fan of Cami Garcia. I have been for several years now. She wrote Beautiful Creatures. She wrote The Lovely Reckless. She's just a really amazing, diverse author, and I highly recommend her if you're looking for some, you know, contemporary books with like badass boys. I highly recommend. This next book is her newest release, and it is beautiful, Broken Beautiful Hearts, and this cover is just gorgeous. Now this is an ARC edition here, but the book is out. This book here is a lot more personal than her other books. This is actually based off things that Cami experienced in high school herself, but it follows our main character who is in an abusive, unhealthy relationship with this boy who has an addiction, and so it's very, very It's definitely deep and definitely a trigger warning on it for anybody who those topics are a little sensitive for them. But yeah, it's based on Cammie's own personal experience. She wrote on the little card that there's a lot of truth in this book, and so I'm looking forward to reading it, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it like all of her other books. This next book here I received from Source Books, and I'm so excited because it is Fiction Faction 2.0's June book of the month. If you guys didn't know, I recently joined Fiction Faction 2.0, which is a book club hosted by Natasha over at Tashopolis, Marine from Marine Kiwi, Haley from Haley and Bookland, oh my god, wait, as well as Hannah from A Clockwork Reader, and we'll all be hosting a live show at the end of June and reading this book throughout June, so I'm very excited. Definitely check out Fiction Faction on Instagram and Twitter for details on the book club and everything like that. The book that we'll be reading is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. It is a fantasy book that follows our main character, who is an elemental magic wielder, and she is really rare. She can wield all 7 types of elemental magic. Sounds like a really exciting book. I kind of want to go into it without knowing too much. I feel like fantasy books, that's like the best way to go into any fantasy book. But yeah, super excited to read this one. This next book here I received from Penguin Teen. I've seen this book going around. It is a contemporary book, and it is Always Never Yours by Emily Wilberly and Austin Sigmund Broca. And I believe the authors that wrote this book are a couple, which is so cute and just like makes the book feels so much more real. It follows our main character. Now she kind of has a weird history of dating people and then breaking up with them, and then that person finding their true love and her just like remaining heartbroken. So this is like a repeated habit, or like things that happen with her in her life, and she's just kind of accepted it as like more than just a coincidence that she's like cursed or something. She is a theater lover, and she gets cast to play Juliet, I believe, in her high school production of Romeo and Juliet, I'm guessing, unless it's like some Shatter Me adaptation in which she's playing Juliet, in which I'm really jealous. But anyway, sorry, I just had to, I can't ever go a video without mentioning, oh my god, English Naya, mentioning Shatter Me. So Akamai, okay. So our main character in this book, she ends up meeting this like handsome playwright guy named Owen, and they just end up like having this cute little relationship, or maybe not so cute little relationship, I don't know. But it just sounds like a really awesome, cute, short contemporary book, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Alright, so now into the 17 something books that oh my god, that I ordered from Book Outlet. This is just, yeah, it's really heavy. But if you guys didn't know, I'm a vlogger friend with Book Outlet, so all these books that I'm going to be talking about here, I actually have a vlogger page where you can check out all of them. All of these books, I kid you not, I got for probably under, was it like $60 or something like that? All these books are like $2 or $3 on Book Outlet. That's why you see me hauling like huge amounts of them, because you can get like for the price of like $2 or $3 a book, and it's awesome. And they're hardbacks, and they're like brand new too. So highly recommend Book Outlet. The first book that I got from Book Outlet, which I have never heard of a book like this before, like ever, and like when I saw it, I'm like, no way, no way. Like the Jurassic Park lover in me was freaking out. Dinosaur Lords by Victor Milan, and as you guys can guess, there's a guy riding a dinosaur on the cover of this book, okay? It's my dream. You see this guy right here, maybe like a different, like a pink armor or something like that, but he's riding a Raptorsaurus. You guys can guess, this book takes place in a world in which dinosaurs exist and people live amongst them, and there's monsters and there's beasts, and every type of mythical, creepy, killer creature exists. And that's all I need to know, and I'm gonna read this book and I love it. But I believe this is an adult book. I don't think it's a young adult book, but I'm so excited to read this one. All I know is it has dinosaurs in it and people ride them, and it's just, it looks great, so I'm gonna enjoy it. Okay, so this next book I have here is a psychological thriller suspense mystery book, and it sounds so cool, and I'm trying to get like the little sticky tag that's on the cover off, so if you see this little thing, it didn't come off all the way because I should have just like used a blow dryer, but I was too lazy. Anyways, so this book is The Lying Game by Ruth Ware, and this book sounds so cool. So it follows our group of 4 best friends. Now they have this game that they play called The Lying Game, in which they come up with lies. They tell everyone lies. Like whenever someone asks them a question, they'll just lie about it, and they'll see who can get away with their lies. But their lying game ends up getting them in serious trouble. Someone ends up dead, and it's all because of some lie they told, or several lies, I'm not sure, but they have to kind of, yeah, deal with that. So it sounds really creepy and it sounds like not a smart game to play. So this next book I read in the 4th grade, and you guys, it was the craziest thing because I was trying to figure out what this book was, because this is a book that was an assigned reading for me in the 3rd or 4th grade, and I remember reading it, and it was the first sort of suspense mystery book that I had ever read before, and it's kind of what got me into that sort of genre. As you guys know, Percy Jackson is what got me into reading in general, but this is a book that I remember reading and I had never read anything like it before, and I couldn't remember what it was. All I knew it had like a cover of a house on it, and it had like money on it, and when I saw this cover, you guys, I was like, oh my god, this is the book. This is the book. This is The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. Raskin, I think that's how you say it. But this book, holy crap. Okay, I remember it so vividly, even though it's been probably, has it been 10 years? I think it's been like 10 years since I've read this book. But again, it's super short, and I remember it being so much bigger, but back then, again, I was like a 3rd, 4th grader, so this book was like considered big for me. The Westing Game follows a set of characters who, this very wealthy man dies, and now all these like, I don't think they're all his relatives, I think some of them are his friends, but they all have to play this game, this Westing Game is what it's called, to figure out how he died. And whoever figures out like how he died ends up getting his inheritance, and so it ends up being like this mystery sort of thing, and we follow several characters, and it's just really, okay, I read it 10 years ago, so I may be remembering it wrong, but I remember it just being super interesting, and I loved it. I read it twice, and I asked my teacher if I could keep the book, and she let me keep the book, and I don't know what happened to it. In the process of moving, I must have lost it, but yeah, so super excited. I plan on rereading this. It's so short, just so that like, I feel like it's gonna be one of those books that I read and it just gets all nostalgic because I remember everything, and just, yeah, okay. Okay, so this next book, holy smokes, this is like a book that I feel like I would write. Like, if this wasn't already written, I would write this book. Dreamfall by Amy Plum. So, okay, this book follows 5 teens who suffer from severe insomnia, which, like, hashtag relatable. But anyways, yeah, so these teens, they suffer from really bad insomnia, and so they volunteer for this experiment that has never been conducted before. So they are the like beta test team, the first ones ever to try this, in which they go into this sort of dreamscape, which is like a dream world, and I don't know what the experiment is like see if they can like do it, but what ends up happening is it goes very wrong, and all 5 of these teens get stuck in this sort of dreamscape together, and have to figure out how to get out, and it's just, yeah, it sounds amazing and super like Matrixy, which I love. Okay, so the next book I picked up was The Rattled Bones by S.M. Parker. Now this book sounds very, very interesting. So it follows our main character who loses her father, and shortly after she loses her father, the lines between the living and the dead sort of start blurring for her, and she ends up being haunted by this girl. Now this girl is from this island that's like off the coast of where she lives or something like that, and so she doesn't know why this girl keeps appearing in her life and is haunting her, but a little bit later she ends up meeting this boy or this guy named Sam, and he's an archaeologist who ends up going to the island and finding out that there's like a native group of people there. Basically, these native people on this island were like forced to leave the island, and some people were killed on the island, and so he starts excavating, or is that the word, excavating, like finding artifacts and things like that, and realizing there's this whole history that no one ever knew, and it has to do with basically this haunting that's happening with this girl. So it sounds really creepy, really interesting. The next book I am so stinking, I saw this book on Book Outlet, y'all, and I was just like, oh my god, there's a god out there. Vicious by V.E. Schwab. As you guys know, I've been on a V.E. Schwab kick lately. I read her first 2 books, A Darker Shade of Magic, and what's the second book? Oh shoot. What is the second book called? I just read the second book. I can't, is it A Darker Shade of Magic? A Conjuring of Light's the last book. I still have to read, but what is the second book called? Anyway, so this is her standalone, I believe this is a standalone novel, and it's called Vicious, and it is a adult book, and it has to do with some kids that get superpowers, and it's dark and it's weird, and I love dark and weird stuff, and it's V.E. Schwab, and I can't wait to read it. I'm like refusing to like look up any reviews of this book. I want to go into it not knowing anything because I love V.E. Schwab, and I know that if this is an adult novel and it's creepy and it's dark and it has magic and powers and supernatural stuff in it, I'm gonna love it, and I just cannot wait to read it. Next book is another book by one of my new favorite authors, Katie Cotugno. I've talked about her books recently. Just received 2 of her other books, 99 Days and 9 Days and Nights. And I recently read Top 10 by Katie Cotugno, which I have a vlog for, so I'll like link it up here over here. So anyways, I love Katie Cotugno, and I love that all of her covers are like matching and stuff too, which I just noticed. And I'm not sure what it's about. All I know is it has to do with 2 best friends, and she just writes friendship so well. I just love it. This next book is an adult novel, and it's a little bit different. I know I normally read YA, but I've been like kind of gravitating into like the adult novel world, and I just read this book, or read the synopsis for this book, and it sounded really interesting and intriguing, so I picked it up. It is The Gin Closet by Leslie Jamison, and this is sort of a, I don't know, I guess you would say a contemporary family book. Is that the right genre? I don't think so. But anyway, so it follows our main character. She's a 30-year-old woman, and she has spent majority of her life just drinking and just having really bad habits, and she just really hasn't done much with her life, and she's tried several times to like get her act together and stuff like that, but it's just never been able to do it. But one day her niece comes to her doorstep and asks to come and live with her, and this sort of changes her whole life. Her and her niece end up just learning a lot about each other, and just her niece is a lot younger than her, and so they have really interesting talks about love and life and just things in general, and she slowly starts to change her habits, and it sounds like a beautiful sort of later in life coming of age story, if that makes any sense. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. So this next book here I bought thinking it was a standalone, only to realize it's the second book in a series, so I need to go and purchase the first book in this series. But I think I've been asking around, and people say that you can read this book and still kind of understand what's going on, but I'm not someone who could read a book without reading the first book in the series. But this book is Everyone Lies, or sorry, the first book that I was supposed to buy is called Everyone Lies, and that was the first book in this series, and it is a like thriller, suspense, serial killer sort of book. And this is the second book, Believe No One by A.D. Garrett, and it's following these people that are trying to catch the serial killer. And so I'm like, okay, I got like halfway through the synopsis. Right after they mentioned the part of this being like a second book in a series, I stopped because I didn't want to spoil myself. But all I know is it's about like these people that hunt serial killers, and so I'm very excited to read it once I get the first book. But yeah, my mistake, I know everyone's done that at least once, where they picked up a book and they're like, oh, this is gonna be great, and they realize it's like the second or third book in a series. So that's what happened to me. Okay, this next book is by one of my favorite authors, and I finally got my hands on it, and this bad boy is huge, you guys. Like, look at this. Can you guess who it's by? Like, I'll give you like a little hint. Can you see the Lunar Chronicles back there? The Lunar Chronicles? Okay, this book is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I am so excited to read it. It is so, like, just look how beautiful this is. Like, hallelujah, hallelujah. And it's within the same color scheme as like the Lunar Chronicles was. If you guys haven't read the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, you guys have to check it out. It is amazing, one of my favorite series ever. But Renegades is her newest book that came out, was it last year, or did it come out this year? I can't remember, but it came out recently. But it follows these group of kids or humans that have super abilities, and I just like, oh, see, Marissa Meyer is so good at writing like sci-fi sort of like power-y magic books, and so I'm just very excited. I know, like, as a fan of Marissa Meyer, that I hope she writes this well, and the cover is gorgeous, and I'm just so excited. This is again one of those books where I have been avoiding reviews of it because I just want to kind of go into it without any like opinions on my mind. Okay, this next book sounds really dark, very creepy, but I'm very excited to read it. And it is The Shack by W.M. Paul Young, and this book follows this story of this girl who was abducted on a family vacation and taken and held in this shack. Now, police found like this shack in the woods, and they are not in the woods. Is it in the woods? On the beach somewhere. They found this shack, and they found evidence that the girl may have been murdered in this place, but they never really figured out what happened. And so fast forward 4 years, so the father of this girl ends up receiving this really weird note that's written from God, inviting him back to this shack for a weekend, which is really weird. And so he ends up going there, and his worst nightmare comes true, and it's just this whole thing. And so it kind of deals with religion a little bit, which I'm interested to see how that's going to be written into this book. The next book I am so excited about. It has to do with magic and magicians, and I love magic and magicians. An Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard, and I don't know if you guys can see this cover because it is so cool, and it is like totally white. But in this book there is this sort of world called the Unseen World, which is a world within New York of magic families, very powerful magic families who aren't like a part of the real actual world going on. And every few years they vie for power. A magician from each of the houses of magicians or powerful families compete with each other for power, and it just sounds very cool. And Neil Gaiman actually blurbed it and said a remarkable writer, which like makes me really excited for the writing, but very excited. I love the cover, very intriguing. Okay, so this next book is another magical book, but it is more on the fantasy side because it does take place in like a fantasy world. But it is The Last Days of Magic by Mark Tom Pickens? This book is a mix of all sorts of different mythologies, different histories, biblical stories. What else is in here? Gods and fairies and like all sorts of stuff like that. And it just sounds very interesting. And it also has to do with Celtic mythology, I think, a little bit. So very cool. Okay, this next book sounds super interesting and just like a really creepy, weird concept. I love creepy, weird stuff, you guys. As you should know this by now if you've been following me for a while. But this book is The Boy Who Drew Monsters by Keith Donohue. And this book follows this little boy who 3 years ago he nearly drowned. And ever since then he's been terrified to leave his house, and instead he just draws pictures. So this boy starts to draw monsters, and his drawings of these monsters start to like take on a life of their own and almost like torment his family and friends and kind of come to life, which is really creepy. So his parents start seeing things, his friends start seeing things, and it's just like a really creepy story, and they try to figure out what's going on with his drawings, why are they coming to life, what's going on. And yeah, so very creepy book, super excited to read it. The last book I have here is one I talked about a while ago on Epic Reads, on the Epic Reads channel, and I did a video for them. This is a book that I was looking forward to reading that I finally got my hands on, and it is 100 Hours by Rachel Vincent. Now this book is another mystery suspense book. It follows our main character. She goes on spring break to this remote sort of island, this remote stretch of beach, and so her and her friends are camping out, they're sleeping in tents, and all of a sudden they get pulled from their tents and are kidnapped and have to survive and figure out what's going on, who's kidnapped them, and why. And so as the story unravels, we figure out more and more about these people that tried to kidnap them, or that have kidnapped him, and they're being held hostage, and it's just, it just sounds like a really interesting story. Alright, those are all the books. My voice is like slowly going away. I think that was like 21 books possibly. I don't know, but I'm gonna have to now find space for them on my TBR shelf over here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, keep reading and I'll talk to you later. Bye!